The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Wednesday, February 14th, and today is Ash Wednesday. It's also National Cream-Filled Chocolates Day. Oh, man, Rico, you hear that? It's National Cream-Filled Chocolates Day. It's also National Ferris Wheel Day, National Organ Donor Day, and of course, you guys, that's right, it is Valentine's Day. That's right. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there, and thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking it off first, we are going to break off today with the dope dad himself, the Quasimodo caretaker, and happens to be covering his uncombed hair today. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Oh, Jason, it's Valentine's Day, so I won't take the hair hatred from you.
Hair
brush
hatred.
It off, man. Just
Cute.
brush it off.
Is that what you're doing with your hair?
Favorite,
you're brushing it off?
As your favorite Democratic plant, Taylor Swift would say.
She's a psyop, not a plant. She's a psyop, not a plant. Plants have roots.
Shake it off. All right, y'all. So, although they didn't invent the occasion, way back in 1913, when Hallmark Corporation began selling the first Valentine's Day cards, they became the first and biggest profiteer of the occasion. Excluding prepackaged Valentine cards for school children, the corporation averages about 145 million individual cards sales yearly. With the current median card price of $5 a pop, they haul in approximately $725 million in revenue each Valentine's Day. That's $750 million made off of us on a made-up holiday, all in the name of capitalism. Since the early 1900s, American spending on Valentine's Day swelled to approximately $25.9 billion by 2023, as reported by the National Retail Federation. And all that said, Hallmark's marketing of random-ass February 14th, just a random-ass day in February, to get Americans to spend an average of $146 each in an effort to pay for sex legally, has got to be the most successful examples of pimping of all time. That said, if you're an avid deal hunter like myself looking to offset the copious amounts of cash you'll be forking over tonight on obviously overpriced red and pink bullshit, CDTFAs got just what you've been looking for. Green Market Report's John Troyer reported that this Friday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific, the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration is auctioning off seized assets from 10 LA-based dispensaries in an attempt to recoup $14.4 million in taxes owed. The 10 companies combined owed over $14.4 million, but individually, the company tax bills ranged from $57,000 to $6.6 million. A CDTFA rep said that February 16th will be the first time it auctions off personal property from cannabis companies, though it did auction off a actual property in 2022. It did not identify any of the 10 companies by name. It did admit that 9 of the 10 were illegal, while the 10th was a legal dispensary with unpaid taxes. The list of items being auctioned includes sandwich boards, glass bongs, cash counting machines, cameras, televisions, shelving, refrigerators, air purifiers. There you go, Nick. And even a snow cone machine. Sadly, the agency said they will not be auctioning off arguably the most valuable asset seized, the weed. I don't know how much of a dent a bunch of random used dispensary gear and bongs will put in a $14.4 million debt, but I guess it is what it is. And in an email to Green Market Report, a CDTFA spokesperson said that most of or all the cannabis products seized were illicit and thus could not be legally resold because they failed to meet the strict safety standards required by state law. And cannabis products seized during enforcement operations are held at CDTFA facilities and are ultimately destroyed. They smoking. In a press release, CDTFA Director Nick Maduro said, seizing and auctioning property from cannabis businesses that evade the law is a tool to recover the taxes owed to the state. But the simple fact that one of them was a legal operator, said consultant Avis Bulbulian, CEO of Seva Enterprises, is a signal that there are likely more such seizure actions and resulting auctions on the way through 2024. Here's what he said. You've got a failing industry. The industry is at a point in California. We've got all these tax liabilities, and there's no point in paying or negotiating anything because the taxes owed are more than the value of the business. Bulbulian told GMR that he knew one dispensary owner who was trying to sell his shop in LA last year for $5 million, but found no buyers because the shop also came with a $6 million tax liability to the state of California. Goddamn. In December 2022, the CDTFA shared with Green Market Report that the cannabis sector as a whole in California was at that point over $250 million in arrears over just state tax bills. I wonder what it's up to now. So if you're a dispensary owner looking to set up your own trap operation, or hey, maybe just looking for a fantastic bargain on weed shop accessories, check out the CDTFA auction link on the high9news.com website. And get a little shopping in. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. Happy Valentine's Day, y'all.
Oh, man. You know, my first question.
Babe, I know where you...
My first question to this,
I know you can read my Valentine.
My first question to this, Rico, is did they mention if whether or not they cleaned all these pipes and bongs prior to them getting auctioned off?
Right. Because you know, in trap shops, sometimes you get to hit the bong. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just imagining if it's stuff that was all seized, a lot of it's probably used, and so therefore, you could get some
got
old,
like years and years.
Yeah,
resin on it.
Yeah,
resin,
get some of that good
glass.
resin. Yeah, those solid resin hits you used to take back in the day. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you can get some legacy strainage out of that resin too.
Mm-hmm.
That's some real old school stuff.
Oh man.
Vintage.
Watch out. Don't tell all those tissue culture
Welcome
labs.
to California cannabis.
Yes.
This is what we deal with every damn day in our law firm and across the industry in California, is that people owe Peter, and they've been trying to rob Paul to pay Peter. At the end of the day, Peter, you're going to have to pay is the tax guy. Mm-hmm. He shows up with a gun and an execution warrant and takes all your shit. They've wanted cash because cash, you don't have to play this game of, I took 100 bongs and now I got to sell 100 bongs. I mean, that's a pain in the ass to do. But the tax people have priority over all these debts. And, I'm surprised they're trying to do this. We'll see what if they get 10 cents on the dollar. And they typically take unused bongs, in my experience, and resell them on the market.
So you're saying
Rico, in your story?
So they're all still with bubble wrap?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, their inventory. They come in and seize all your shit, and in the inventory are things like this. They're accessories. They don't.
I wonder if any of these are Tommy Chong's bongs.
I was thinking the same thing.
No wonder.
Yeah, they're all left over from Operation
because he
Pipe
had like
Dreams.
A truckload or something. Right?
Yeah, the Operation Pipe Dreams. That was a real deal. There's probably some amazing Jerome Baker pieces
him
in
and
there.
his wife told me that whole story.
Yeah.
I wonder how they're marketing this. You know, if they're going to get Tommy John to say, "Hey, if you could pick up a cheap pipe from me, go to the state and buy it from him." I don't think so.
Last I heard from
the cops advertise it.
Last I heard from the CDFTA, Dale, they were relying on us to market this for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Hyatt 9 News getting a commission for any referrals from our website?
We get 10% from every pipe and 15% from every bong sold.
You get $3 off your tax debt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Getting credit for future tax liability.
California, bro.
I did have a question, though.
Yes.
Rico, in your story, did I hear you say that there was a gentleman named Avis that was quoted?
Yep, Avis Babuyan. Yeah, Avis Babuyan.
Okay, so Avis actually was on the state, God, I forget the name of the committee that they were on, but when, in 2017, before the Adult Use Act became effective, he served on the committee that was the advisory committee to the state when all of us were proposing our changes to the regulations. And it's very interesting to me now that he's saying that the businesses are worth less than the tax debt. Very interesting.
It's a mathematical fact.
Yeah.
That's the problem they got. And I have people come to me all the time. Hey, I want to sell my business. You go, okay, let's talk about your debt. And kind of get glossy-eyed, want to cry. It's like, dude, I can sell it for $1.5 million, but you got $2 million in debt. How do we do that without bankruptcy? I mean, it's a daily issue we deal with in our firm, and there are no magic answers.
Very true. Very true. I guess we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna go to a commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
364 days out of the year, he's known for smoking the best weed in the world and being the highest Republican in every room. But each Valentine's Day, he transforms into a little lovable red cherub shooting arrows of love out to everybody. Coming to the stage is Jason Beck.
All of the love. Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Rico. And I want to thank Pepper, who's one of our regular viewers out there, who makes these lovely flower arrangements and whatnot. And so if you need one with little weed leaves in there for your Valentine or whatnot, let her know. She sells these things. But nonetheless, I have a very international story for you guys today. I hope you guys are ready for this, because there's a lot of high stakes going on, you guys, because Moroccan hash dealers reportedly boycott Israel, citing Palestinian suffering, you guys. That's right. Hashish dealers in Morocco have said they will stop supplying to Israel in light of the war in Gaza, as reported by Israeli news site Mako on Friday. According to the Israeli drug dealer interviewed for the report, the Moroccan suppliers are no longer willing to sell directly to Israeli dealers or through middlemen. In quotes, they decided because of the war, they are boycotting, the source, who wished to remain anonymous, said. Since the war, we have lost so much money, tens of millions of shekels at least, he says. The majority of Moroccan cannabis is grown and processed into hashish, which is not to be confused with the less potent but more widely known marijuana in the Al Rif region in the northern part of the country. It is generally considered to be some of the highest quality product available on the market, and worldwide demand for the drug has kept the prices rising at a steady increase for at least several years. With revenue reaching several $billions a year, the use of cannabis for adult use was officially decriminalized in Israel back in 2022, and according to one Israeli living in Morocco and involved in smuggling hashish into Spain and France, who was interviewed by Mako, Israel does not make up a large percentage of Morocco's hash export business. In quotes, hundreds of tons of hash are sold to drug dealers in Europe and Scandinavia, he explained. At best, only a few hundred kilograms of Moroccan hash reach Israel. Despite the relatively small volume being exported to Israel, it was still incredibly lucrative for drug dealers inside the country prior to the boycott. In quotes, the price of a kilogram of Moroccan hash can reach 300,000 NIS. That is about $81,720 in Israel. The demand for it in Israel is crazy because it is very high quality and clean and powerful, the man continued. Hashish is one of several drugs that is regularly smuggled into Israel across both its southern and northern border, and criminal organizations involved in the drug trade regularly employ local Israeli smugglers, among them yeshiva students who hide the drugs, for instance, in hidden compartments in their suitcases. A hashish dealer from the Rift Mountains, identified as R, confirmed that a boycott has in fact been imposed on Israeli dealers. In quotes, why should Israelis be able to make a living selling Moroccan hashish when our Palestinian brothers are suffering from hunger and living in humane conditions, he told Mako. And in one more quote, go buy it somewhere else. We no longer sell hashish to Israelis. Before the war, we did business here with them. Smugglers and sellers came here and made good money. Now that's the end of it, he said. Well, sounds like things are going a little crazy out in the Middle East. Of course, we all already knew that, but it is impacting the drug trade. And what do you guys have to say about this?
Wow. Like, no hash for you. Wow.
Yeah, that's how exactly.
I love it. I think it's hilarious. Solidarity with their brothers.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Mandy. I felt like I was watching an episode of Jerry Seinfeld, and all of a sudden we have the hash Nazi. No hashish for you. No bricks.
No hash for you.
Hold on. Time out. Let's be careful about saying not Israelis mixing in the conversation.
Well, that was a Seinfeld reference.
Just for of what we're talking about. But let's say this. This is awesome. This is awesome because this is showing economics 101, right? This is how the U.S. And many other large nations imply sanctions to make other countries do what they want them to do, right? We imply sanctions. We implied sanctions on Iran. We applied sanctions on China. We applied sanctions on Russia. And we do those things in order to try to get that company that we are putting these embargoes and these sanctions on to do something or to be a good actor, right? So I don't know. This is another way for someone to hold a precious commodity from one of these companies and say, if you want this commodity, start to be a good actor.
So you call these street sanctions? Is that what you're saying, Luke?
Yep.
Or turf
good
sanctions?
Old-fashioned street sanctions.
Interesting.
And I mean, if you think about it, they're probably activating these Moroccan hash producers and smugglers are activating a demographic that I would assume is not the most politically engaged in Israel. You know, illicit market hash dealers are probably not politically engaged. So by doing what Luke said, basically, creating an embargo for exporting hash to Israel, now you have a group of people that are probably going to be more involved with voicing their opposition to what the Israeli government is doing. I think it's awesome.
Oh boy. What do
you guys imagine what would happen if like California's hash makers just decided to just stop giving it to people?
Other people would just pop up and make it. They would just lose revenue. They lose market share.
It would be a travesty though. Like
Someone else would fill in the gaps. I think one of the reasons that this is able to be somewhat of a success is because you have certain factions that control all of the sourcing in these countries, so therefore they are able to do this, as opposed to where California, you don't have anybody like there's no one person that says, hey, all you hash makers, stop making hash. Like and even if there was, no one would listen to them. So that's not even going to be a reality here in the States.
I think the other point on that too is that Israel makes up such a small portion of the demand for hash from Morocco, right? The amount that they're exporting to Spain and Portugal and France and the rest of the mainland Europe and probably even elsewhere in Africa is so much bigger than what Israel is consuming. So they can afford to just cut off one of their downstream sources.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I understand they make some pretty good hash in India, right, Sohum?
They do. It's different. That Moroccan hash is that dry pressed hash. In India, they make the live pressed hash.
Hold on.
They make dry hash up in Afghanistan. There's other sources for it. And you can't buy it at the wholesale distributor. You go down the stream a little bit and pick it up from somebody that just smuggled it into Spain. I don't know. There's ways around it.
Fair enough. They're going to find new sources.
Maybe the Israelis really want that Moroccan good, you know? Yeah. Maybe the people that love that shit in Israel will pressure.
You know, all this really does.
And his boys.
All this really does, Rico, all this really does ultimately at the end of the day is make the price of Moroccan hash go up in Israel, because you know someone's still going to get it, and it's still going to happen, and you know what I'm saying, someone's going to want the money more than they care about whatever is going on, and they're going to need the money, and they're going to sell it.
Mark my words.
They always find
a month from now you're gonna see a story about some rogue Israeli soldiers that have been selling illegal hash to their homeboys on the Gaza Strip.
And we'll make sure to cover it here at High at 9 News when we do cover that. Find that story.
Yes, we will.
Yes,
we will.
What were you going to say, Luke?
Start hearing propaganda stories about hash with fentanyl popping up in
we
Israel.
all know that's total fake news.
Trap always wins, guys, right?
That's right. What were you going to say, Luke?
Already on every corner.
No, what I was just going to say is, like, you know, even in the bigger country, there's always ways around it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like Russia has sanctions. Still see Mercedes-Benz driving up the street all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not supposed to. The Western countries aren't supposed to do business with them, but there's always ways around it. People are always going to find ways around. Outlet in the pipeline will always be in other ways, right? So this is no different here. There will be Israelis that find ways to hash and find ways to get other hash, and the price of hash will go up. But the idea behind this is not that you can't get a Mercedes-Benz or you can't get the hash. It's that it becomes more difficult, right? It becomes more difficult for the average person to come in and get it, and then it becomes economically unattainable for most people. Mm-hmm. That's where we see the challenges. That's where you see the average everyday consumer won't be able to buy Moroccan or the Mercedes-Benz in Moscow.
100%. There's a reason why you always see Kim Jong-un with the latest and greatest Maybachs and Jack Daniels. You got lifetime supply of Jack Daniels.
Yes. Oh man, you know,
the money. Get the goods.
You got the money, you got the honey. You know what it is. It's Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. That's right. You got the money, you got the honey. That's right. And coming up next, that's right, it is everyone's favorite Tio Loco. That's right, Mr. Dale Schafer. He's an attorney at law. At one point in time, did some time for a cannabis crime. He's the founder of Armada Law Practice, and it is none other than Mr. Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. I penned an article yesterday about Catalyst company here in California having a pissing match with a local city over extracting excessive fees out of them through a development agreement. And the article's posted, and rather than just read it, I want to back up a little bit and introduce a couple of topics here for anybody in the cannabis industry. We have development agreements, and Luke, if you've been following anybody coming out of the Central Valley, you know that all of them cities in the Central Valley of California have development agreements. And a development agreement is an agreement between a city generally and someone who has an interest in property to develop the property. And in California, rather than go through the process of passing a comprehensive cannabis ordinances in local communities, they just said you can do a development agreement or a DA, and then you outline the rules and regulations that go along with being able to open a cannabis business. It was a way around the local control problems we had here in California. The problem is the development agreements are a two-edged sword because they give rights to people that you wouldn't ordinarily get from just an ordinance. Okay, so just before we started live here in California, January 1st of 2018, a lot of these cities were putting together these development agreements. Okay, we had them in Modesto, and they got one in Patterson, which is a Central Valley community here in California. And it really was, you had a gun to your head. If you want to do business as a cannabis business, and there's no ordinance, you've got to try to get a development agreement, and you basically took what they offered you. And that's where the problem started here. Because baked into this development agreement is that starting 6 months after you sign this, or a month after you get your permit, your conditional use permit, you've got to start dropping $10,000 a month, or 5% of your gross. Okay, so they signed this in December of 2017. So 6 months later, you got to start coming up with 10 grand a month, or 5% of your gross. Well, it took them a year and a half to open up. So the whole time that they were having to pay this monthly fee, they had no revenues. Okay. And it's one of the things you better know about these cannabis businesses, because at this point you need a sugar daddy to keep funding all this shit. As you got no revenue, someone's got to come up with 10 grand a month. Now, 13 months after this development agreement was signed, or that took effect, now they bumped it up to $25,000 a month, or 5% of your gross. And still, these people weren't operating. There's no revenue, so they had to start chunking out $25K a month. Okay? And they had attorneys try to get involved, and they weren't able to come up with the money, and trying to hold them off from, ripping away their development agreement, taking away their license and things like that. Well, Catalyst came in, and I don't know all the details, but Catalyst took over as the manager of this. And so this is the Catalyst branded company now. And maybe they got better lawyers, I don't know. But the city of Patterson decided we're done, waiting for you to pay us. It's up to almost $1.4 million now. We're going to act to revoke your license. And that's when the attorney said, yeah, the fuck you will. We're going to court. And they walked into court, and the court stopped the city of Patterson from taking away their license. They just temporarily stopped it and brought them back on what we call an order to show cause, where both sides have to show why we shouldn't grant a more permanent injunction here, a preliminary injunction, they call it, which lasts throughout the litigation. And the city of Patterson got their ass kicked because they jumped into an area that I've tried cases on and had, pulled whatever hair I have left out over these city and counties' willingness to milk the cash cow of what they think a cannabis business is. Okay, and they'll milk them every way they can. But since 1978 in our Prop 13, citizens of our state have been trying to rein in the government taking your money. And this finally ended in 2010 with a clear statement changed to our Constitution and all of our laws. But if you're going to charge somebody a fee or a right or a privilege, the fee has to cover only what it costs to provide the services for that right or privilege. If it raises revenue, it's a tax, and you got to go to the voters to get a tax approved. None of that happened here. They snuck this this revenue positive clause in this development agreement that is basically illegal and unconstitutional. And so the company, the Catalyst company that's a plaintiff here, they stopped the city from doing this, and they're screaming that this is an illegal and unconstitutional tax, and that we want our money back other than what it costs to provide services, or as the city called it, the burden on the city of Patterson to have a cannabis business there. They never told anybody what those burdens were, what they cost. And in the pissing matches I've been in, the fees are scrutinized. They're put into a separate earmarked account, and you've got to come back every year and demonstrate that what you charge these people in fees actually match up to what it costs the local jurisdiction to provide the services. Otherwise, it's a tax, and it's got to go to the voters. Now, the other bad thing that happened here is that there was an arbitration clause in this development agreement, and they're sent to arbitration. Now, we may never find out how this works out, but it does point out that if you're going to get into a cannabis business as an investor, or even as someone who's going to be an owner and try to run these things, you need to know what you're going to be paying for and make sure that you obligated to pay it all, and then, budget for it. Because the taxes on this, let's just call them taxes, they overwhelm this company's ability to pay them. They're up to 1.4 million in just a few years here, and they're going to have to get it wiped out, or this company is going to have a lot of problems going forward, and they may in fact have to close down. So it's a cautionary tale. I'm going to throw it back to the people in the panel who may be familiar with these development agreements and these tax issues. So that's my story for today. Back at you guys. What do you think?
Is not how you get weed.
Man, weed for the people. Congratulations to Elliot and Anna on their big victory against the city of Patterson, because I remember a number of months ago when they had a big city council meeting, and the city council voted to remove their license because they were in this pissing match, and they were I know Elliot and Anna were definitely trying to reach a settlement with the city of Patterson, but the city of Patterson was just totally unworkable. And I believe, if I remember correctly, they even had some footage. There was some very disgruntled city of Patterson council members, and I think one of them was caught actually urinating or using the restroom outside of their building on their property of the business of the the Catalyst store in Patterson. So yeah, I'm surprised that I think local law enforcement in Patterson
comes with
should
a
be
serious fine.
Well, I just think that the local law enforcement in Patterson, since there's video camera footage of that, they should be arresting this person or giving them a ticket for disorderly conduct or something like that. You know what I mean?
It's actually better than that, Jason. They actually have to register as a sex offender.
No way.
They yes.
Yeah,
bro, that would be the best. That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah, if you get caught doing that, you got to tell your neighbors when you move into a neighborhood.
And Anna jumped
why
into
driving
the
a
chat.
big truck may be an advantage, because they can't see that rascal from very far off, right?
Yeah, and Anna jumped into the chat, and she just said it's basically a really big pissing match.
Oh yeah.
And it sounds like one, right?
Never been in a pissing match.
I would never want to be in a pissing match with Elliot for one. I would never want that. If me and Elliot have a disagreement, you win. But listen, back to this, taxation issue and the story that we just went over. One of the things that is frequently brought up when new cities open up cannabis access and business opportunities, especially like dispensary storefronts. There's this assumption that having our businesses in their communities is going to, of course, increase crime, and therefore they're going to need more law enforcement responses and yada, yada, yada. But I'm happy to report that time and time again, there have been such drastic, actually yesterday I was with the city of Modesto and talking with the head of their cannabis department, and he actually shared with me that they had the same assumption that there was like a tax that the city was going to be charging, and they assumed that tax money would be needed to cover the additional law enforcement expenses, when in fact no additional law enforcement has been needed since these dispensaries have opened. And they've actually started seeing that the dispensary operators and the cultivation operators and distros and et cetera, they have great surveillance around their facilities. fantastic security systems. So they're actually helping the law enforcement agents with adjacent issues. And that in and of itself is really awesome. But I think that this taxation issue, we get taxed before we've even had the issue, is what I'm trying to say. The city of Sacramento a couple of years ago did an entire study about this 1% tax that was written in. And when you applied for your license, you had to check this box on whether you would agree to paying a 1% tax on your revenue that would go to assist law enforcement, or you could decline the tax and wait and see what the actual costs were and then pay that portion. And the city of Sacramento actually got sued for it, lost. And they had to, they couldn't charge that 1% fee because there was no issue. It was really interesting. But as you're building out your laws, make sure you're thinking about and listening for these taxes that they're trying to add on just in case something happens.
Just in case.
That's not okay.
A just in case tax. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial and we're going to be right back. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated. All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. It will do us a favor, do yourself a favor, and even YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already, and all of the articles that we cover on today's show you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And this weekend, I believe, Luke, you're going to be with us. Mandy's going to be with us, too. We are all going to be at the Cali Vibes Festival all weekend in Long Beach over there at the High Hopes area, getting it in. There'll be a lot of great brands and all types of different things going on. Cannabis Talk 101 will be there, and Be Real TV will be there doing their show. And so can't wait for all of that. And as you know, today is Valentine's Day, and today happens to be my adoption day. So I just got these pictures. My mom sent these to me just the other day. And so this is actually me when I first came home from the hospital on my adoption day on Valentine's Day, 1970. And there is the one on the bottom is, I believe it's my first trip to the East Coast with my mom, my dad, and my aunt on the left. And so, shout out to my parents. Thank you for adopting me on this day, and hope you all have an amazing Valentine's Day.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
He's got 10 years of cannabis tech and data experience under his belt and currently working on his grind, working on a lifestyle brand for serious and professional athletes by the same damn name. Coming straight out of the ATX, and got some real good Valentine's plans for tonight. Y'all know who it is. Sohum Shah.
You are on mute, Sohum. You're on mute. There we go.
I was on mute. Thank you for that, Rico, and happy Valentine's Day, everyone. My story today is coming out of Missouri. It was originally published by the Missouri Independent and then republished by Marijuana Moment. But we are talking about collective bargaining for cannabis employees and their right to unionize. So, at Beleaf Medical Synth Cannabis in St. Louis, several of their workers were assembled to vote to unionize when at the last second, Marilyn Gleason, B-Leaf's director of human resources, came in and stopped the representative from the National Labor Relations Board from conducting the vote. She had spoken with the company's attorney, she said, and B-Leaf wanted to challenge the eligibility of 11 of the 16 people who were voting. According to their attorney, they claimed that those workers are agricultural workers, and Missouri is one of many states in the U.S. that do not protect agricultural workers' right to unionize. So based off of that, the company was contesting that 11 of these 16 workers who worked in their cultivation and post-harvest facilities were ineligible to vote to unionize. Not long after he and the other employees filed their petition to unionize in September, the company argued that before the board that the employees are not manufacturer workers and that they're agricultural workers. On January 25th, however, the board regional director of the National Labor Relations Board, Andrea Wilkes, issued a 13-page decision detailing why the employees are not ag workers and could cast votes in the unionization election. Essentially, the company and the Relations Board are going back and forth at this point, debating how they're classifying agricultural workers. And while this is only affecting 11 of their employees at their St. Louis facility, I think it's an important case because it has implications in every other state that does not protect ag workers' rights to unionize. And based off of some research I did while I was reading this article, I believe only 14 states, including California, guarantee ag workers their right to unionize and engage in collective bargaining. So we'll kind of see how this plays out. But yeah, I'd love to hear what everyone's thoughts are on it.
Man, I love this case, Sohum. I am so happy that someone is challenging this case on this types of merits, and hopefully we got a big union bust coming up.
I like this story, but for the opposite reason.
I know.
I want to see.
I know you did.
I mean, I think, of course, but ultimately, I mean, if you want, for a company, from my perspective, if you want to not have your employees unionize, then they need to be treated in a way that they don't feel that they need to engage in collective bargaining. If they're getting the benefits and the compensation that they deserve, then most employees are not going to go through the process and the trouble of unionizing and starting, especially in a new place of employment, a new union.
I agree with you, Sohum, but the problem is that these unions, all they do is take advantage of these workers. They don't really do anything for them. They just want them to be paying into their system so they can get more political clout and whatnot, and they don't actually represent the people that they claim that they are. And so that's why I'm totally against them.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I don't think that unions today are perfect by any means, but I do think it's still a valuable tool that workers should have access to in order to protect themselves.
I can agree with you that I can agree with you with the fact that they're tools.
No, and also we should also agree that that workers should have access to them. But I also agree with Jason that the unions today are antiquated. The whole union system is antiquated, and most times in these situations we have low-income workers being exploited for political reasons. That's what the union exists for. So I think until I see a example of a different example in the cannabis industry, that's my position. There are situations where unions, I think, are beneficial. I just don't see it right now in the cannabis industry. Somebody that makes $20 an hour giving several dollars of their check per hour to a union to tell them which way to vote.
That's stupid.
I think
that's fair.
I think they're needed the big companies, like we saw what happened, what went down at True Leaf, Curaleaf, all these big companies when people are actually getting taken advantage of. And there's no security, there's no job security, there's no help with healthcare or anything like that. And $20 an hour does sound like a lot to all of us because we grew up in the era where, it was like $6, $5 an hour was minimum wage, but inflation is a bitch. And those people, they're making $20 an hour, especially in places like California, man. Like that still ain't living wages at all.
Yeah, I remember when minimum wage was
$5.
I remember when minimum wage in California was $5 an hour, and then it went to $5.25, and then all of a sudden, like it jumped up to like $7.25 all of a sudden.
Yeah,
and then,
well, the thing is, it's
$6.75.
It never has.
Yeah,
it's supposed to keep up with the inflation to make sure people have living wages.
Let me tell you something, bro. Let me tell you something.
Because of union busting.
Let me tell you something.
Because of union
There's
busting,
not even a professional sprinter in the Olympics that could keep up with the rate of inflation right now.
You going to go back to the cause? Are you going to go back to the root of that?
Yeah, the root. You know what the root is Joe Biden. You already knew that was coming, Rico. You already knew that was coming.
How he destroyed the American economy. I'm not even going to go into that. But what I'm going to say is, in certain situations, and we're seeing more and more of those pop up, like some of these folks, they need to be protected, man. So I'll be the one that says, like, yo, I am pro-union in most situations.
I have a question. Massachusetts is a pretty pro-union state, right? Massachusetts is a pretty pro-union state, right? It's a Democratic state, pretty pro-union.
Just because it's Democratic.
What did the union do to True Leave when they had their employee?
They voted against the union. They voted against it, and then when they were going to be forced to unionize, they bounced on the state. They left.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Well, this is the problem for most.
When Lorna McMurray died, they did something behind the scenes to OSHA and got their fine reduced from $35,000 to less than $10,000, and then they just left the state and leaving 1,800 people without a job.
Yep.
All of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to deal with this in small businesses all the time. California requires that you allow the unions to come in once you get to 20 employees. And let's just call them games have been played to make sure that the license holder never has 20 employees. But my grandpa was a Teamster, and the unions that I'm looking at today don't seem to have the same clout with the government and with businesses that the Teamsters used to. I mean, throwing people off bridges helps, but, we still have issues out here with what does the union bring to a small cannabis business other than bankruptcy, which you can't get. And once you get to a certain point, then, trying to offer to your employees what the unions are offering is a wiser strategy than giving over a lot of control to your business to a union. And that's sort of the balance we have when we meet with my clients and go to board meetings like, what are you going to do? There's not enough margins right now to really play around with this on the smaller businesses, because if you come in and you get forced to have to give things to your workers that you can't afford and still pay all your bills and your taxes, it's just not viable. Mm-hmm. We still have some tension here about what the unions actually offer to the workers versus putting a business out of business. Right now, they're pretty tenuous in California to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the answers.
This is like a situation where the free market corrects these situations. I know, like, everybody becomes scared when we start talking about the free market and how it works and how it corrects things and and the longevity of it if it's true, right? But it is true every time. Trust me. Trust the free market. These principles will correct themselves. If companies are bad actors and they're treating their people wrong, and there's another company that's next door and they're in the same industry, but they're treating their people right and paying benefits and doing things and making it a happy, productive environment, guess what? Company B wins, company A goes out of business. That's economics 101. We will see that play out here time and time again. So that's why I say, like, in situations like this, when we have unions, right? Like what Dale said, we'll have these asks upon the business that sometimes the business can't sustain. In a real free market situation, a business isn't going to make decisions or make expenditures that would make it go under, right? That just doesn't make sense. It's not make sense from a business standpoint, from a community standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. So when you make these decisions in a free market, the free market allows you to make the decisions so that you'll be viable as a business. When you create restrictions and start interfering with business, that's when we start to cripple business, and then businesses go out of business. So nobody's goal is to have these businesses go out of business, right? So allow the free market to operate, and you will see the bad actors will get pushed out because nobody spends money with bad actors. The people don't want to work with bad actors. People don't want to work in horrible environments only when they're forced to, when there's not another option. That we don't have that case right now. So we're talking about America 2024. You have the option to go to somebody else and say, F these guys, F this workers, go on Instagram Live, expose them, come on High at 9, let us know what they were going on, we'll tell you. And guess what? The community will cut them off, the industry will cut them off, the free market will cut them off, the consumer base will cut them off, and that company no longer exists. That's in theory how this works. I know we have a lot of other moving factors and variables that make it not as clean as that, but that is in theory how it's supposed to work, and many times it does.
Mm-hmm.
No hash for you.
No hash for you. And on that, we're going to a commercial. We're going to be right back. Get ready for the 20-year anniversary celebration of the Emerald Cup. The Emerald Cup will be held at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts in downtown Oakland, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now for best pricing. Cannabis categories include flower, pre-rolls, solventless concentrates, solvent concentrates, cartridges, edibles, topicals, tinctures, and alternative cannabinoids. So enter early for your chance to be a winner at the 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition. Oh, yes, that's right. Coming up next, she's a mom, she's a cannabis executive, and she's the host of the Women's Cannabis Awards that's coming up this March, where it'll be highlighting all of these different women-owned brands having a real competition, and some lucky ladies are going to win a chance to be in some of the country's top dispensary chains. That's right, it is none other than Miss Manndie Tingler.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. I hope all of you have somebody out there to give a big hug to today. I have got another headline. This one today is about edibles, because that's my favorite thing. And we all, of course, know that there's a lot of development that still needs to happen around the entire globe when it comes to cannabis law enforcement. But my story today, of course, has me shaking my head. Let me know what you think. Says, the headline reads, German man arrested in Russia for allegedly smuggling cannabis gummies. Moscow court on Wednesday remanded a German citizen into custody after his arrest over possession of cannabis gummies, an accusation of smuggling drugs, Russian state news agency TASS said. Patrick Schlobel, 38 years old, was detained at Pulkovo Airport in St. Petersburg late last month and will remain in custody until at least March 15th. Russia's Federal Customs Services said the German national arrived in the country to visit a friend, and when searched, a packet of Think Green Gold Bears with 6 cannabis gummies inside was found on him. According to the Federal Customs Service, Schlobel told authorities that he brought 10 gummies from Germany into Russia to have a more restful sleep on long flights. When the gummies were tested at the airport, they were found to contain THC, which, of course, is banned in Russia. The Customs Service posted a picture of the gummies and a German passport and the packet of the cannabis gummies, which had the leaf on the front. Both TASS and the Customs Service said Schlobel faces up to 7 years in prison for smuggling drugs. In Berlin, German Foreign Ministry spokesperson Christian Wagner confirmed that German national had been arrested. He said Russian authorities informed the German consulate and German officials are in contact with the man's lawyers. The report came after President Vladimir Putin recently indicated that he would discuss swapping a Russian jailed for murderer in Germany in a wider prisoner swap with Evan Gershkovich, a U.S. Wall Street Journal reporter who was arrested on espionage charges while on a business trip to Russia in March last year. Russia has previously been accused of targeting foreign citizens to use them as bargaining chips to secure the release of Russian prisoners abroad. The Russian government has denied these accusations, of course. In a recent interview, Putin appeared to suggest that in exchange for Gershkovich, Russia is seeking the return of Vladimir Pershurov, who is serving a life sentence in Germany after being convicted of the 2019 killing of, this name is a whopper, Zlekomin Tornike Klazgovsky, a 40-year-old Georgian citizen of Chechen ethnicity. Prisoner swaps between 3 countries are rare. In the interview, Putin said Russia is ready to solve it, but there are certain conditions that are being discussed between special services. I believe an agreement can be reached. You guys, I don't really know what to think about this. There's definitely a lot of uncomfortableness when anybody thinks it's okay to bring weed into Russia. It's a dangerous, slippery slope. You're taking a huge risk. I mean, there's been so much evidence in the media lately, but I'm enthusiastic to hear what my correspondents think about the fact that they may be intentionally targeting and keeping prisoners in exchange for their own people back. This is Mandy from High at 9. What do you think?
You would think after Brittany Griner, they would have learned something. If you're gonna, it isn't like you're in LAX and you're flying to Boston. You're thinking, should I take this edible with me or not? In Russia, they don't fuck around. They throw your ass right in jail. Yeah. And due process is something they laugh at there. And my advice is, be very careful taking anything with THC in it into Russia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even take CBD or anything there, to be honest. Like,
no way.
I mean, it's not like it's a secret. They are in a war with Ukraine, which is a proxy war with the West. They are obviously looking for political prisoners. Like, this has not been a secret for the past 2 years. It's amazing to me that people are still taking that risk. And I mean, of course, I'm not encouraging anybody to ever take edibles through customs in another country, but come on, bro. In a package with the leaf on it, like...
Right. I know. At least put it in another bag of some sort or a container. Like, make it look like a snack.
If your passport is from a Western or a Western idealistic country, like, why the fuck are you in Russia right now?
Yeah.
You will be targeted for anything that you're doing. So this dude, like...
I mean, and look at what they did to Evan, the Wall Street Journal reporter. Right. I mean, they will hang espionage charges around your neck, and then you will be really, really fucked. You'll be in the gulag. You'll be going through FSB interrogations. Like, yeah, you're being used as leverage to free other Russian prisoners that are being held.
Did you see?
Listen,
I have a question. I have a question for you.
This is the part, Jay. Hold up, real quick. Yeah, I love this part where somebody gets caught for weed. I love how Putin automatically goes to, free one of my assassins.
Yeah, right. Hey, he's a smart negotiator. Did you guys happen to see the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin? Because he talked about that.
Not the entire thing yet.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, you gotta watch. You gotta watch the whole thing.
Listen.
You gotta watch the whole thing.
I'm not personally I don't watch Tucker Carlson. I'm a fan or not a fan. I just usually don't watch much of it. But I did happen to catch that segment, and I thought it was really powerful. I thought I know this sounds crazy to say the independence of the interview by it not being by Fox or CNN and all that, because we know everything is skewed or has a certain amount of spin on it, right? But the objectivity of the interview, I will say, I was very impressed by, and the uncensoring of the answers by both Putin and the questioning by Tucker Carlson. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree with you, Jay. I thought that was a powerful interview.
Yeah, I thought it was extremely telling in a lot of different ways, and I would encourage people to go and watch the full interview and come to their own judgments in regards to everything.
I'm not going to support Tucker Carlson. I support his right to do what the fuck he wants to do, but fuck him. Straight up.
I mean, it's hard to take anything that he says seriously, after, you know, it's been revealed in court, in public documents, that he knowingly has spread misinformation on his show in the past.
But Tucker got his start.
I am interested.
Tucker got his start at CNN
all the damn time. This high potency marijuana. Fuck that dude, man.
We're working on him, bro. He's evolving
right now. Him and Laura Ingraham.
We're getting him to evolve on that.
Guys,
you know what I mean?
Guys, let's recap this article real quick. Potentially 7 years in a Russian prison for 6 pieces.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, I hope they're able to bring him home back to Germany, even if they have to release a prisoner. I mean, like, at this point, it is what it is, but we've done that in the past for Western political prisoners, and if they have to continue doing that, like, so be it. Like, I don't know, find another way to put pressure on Russia so that they stop doing this, or find a way to bring the war in Ukraine to an end.
I do believe that the war. I'm all for ending all these wars, because we shouldn't be in any of them. But Rico, you ready? We're gonna move on into Luke.
We are peacemongers here at High at 9 News all day. So up next, y'all know who it is. It's High at 9 News' very own friendly neighborhood outlaw. He's a dope dad, activist, entrepreneur, OG. And if you have not picked up his truly amazing and inspirational book, High Price, I'm on my second read right now. Make sure you guys get a copy. My man, Luke Scarmazzo.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rico. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Oh, man, this is, Rico touched on it. I'm glad Rico went into the corporate origins of Valentine's Day. But, listen, I'm not going to rain on anybody's Valentine's Day parade. I want everybody to spread love and spread wellness. So, I was looking for, what'd you say, Rick?
Spread cheeks.
Or cheeks, if that's your thing. So, listen. I was looking for a quiet getaway tonight. You know what I'm saying? Something that I could take my girl to see how, something special, something different. So I was looking, and man, lo and behold, in Lancaster, which is just north of LA, I found a vacant 7,000 square foot underground bunker. So what's more romantic than going and taking your woman down to a 7,000 square foot underground bunker that has just been raided by the DEA? Huh? Babe, what do you think?
Wow.
So my story brings us to Pot Bunker. Massive marijuana farm is discovered in underground vault north of Lancaster. And those of you that don't know where Lancaster is, it's in the high desert, just northeast of LA. There's not a whole lot out there. The only reason I know about it is because I was in the USP, the United States Penitentiary at Victorville, which is just east of there. And it's desert. There's nothing out there. So for these guys to build this bunker underneath the desert, I'm in awe right now. So we'll check it out. Let's see what they had. So 3 men were arrested, and more than 6,000 marijuana plants seized from a massive underground bunker north of Lancaster, and what authorities Friday said was the largest such operation ever uncovered in the country. Literally uncovered. And I do not doubt that this underground bunker was the largest ever uncovered in the country. This thing looked like it could have been a small city. Anyway, authorities estimate that the high desert site discovered Thursday produced an estimated 24,000 marijuana plants a year that, when harvested, could bring an estimated 75 million to 150 million a year on the street. We all know about law enforcement numbers. I won't go into the accuracy of any of those. I will say that you can grow a lot of weed in 7,000 square feet. So there was a lot of weed being produced at that time. Sheriff's deputies and federal drug enforcement agents unexpectedly stumbled onto the 7,000 square foot bunker, complete with diesel-powered lights and ventilation, while searching a nearby house. Ouch. Come on, man. It couldn't have happened like that. Investigators said that they went to the house after finding a $800 utility bill, indicating excessive energy use during their investigation of a related case in Arizona. You got your bunker busted for an $800 electricity bill? Please tell me this is not true. It was an incredible thing. It was the most incredible thing you'll ever see in your life, Captain Larry Waldy, commander of the Sheriff's Narcotics Bureau, said. We've never seen anything quite as sophisticated as this, Waldy said. Estimated that the site at Avenue E near 40th Street had been operating for nearly 2 years. It's a lot of weed in 2 years. Deputies said the site apparently represented a major growing and distribution point for marijuana in Southern California. Authorities said that they believe the farm was run by the same people that were involved in operating 2 similar underground sites near Boulder City, Arizona, that the DEA raided on October 3rd, resulting in 7 arrests. I did some research on these 2 similar sites. I couldn't find really any details on them that were raided in Arizona. But what I gathered from it was that there seemed to be 2 similar underground bunkers in the desert in Arizona, which tipped authorities off to the underground bunker north of LA. The bunker had been dug out from more than the bunker had been dug out under a more than foot-thick concrete ceiling. The thickness of the concrete was an apparent attempt to shield the operation from infrared sensing equipment, which could detect heat from lamps used to supply the plants with lights. The plants were growing wall to wall in pots under about 142 generator-powered lamps. It not only would probably shield heat detection equipment, I'm pretty sure that would probably shield a Tomahawk cruise missile too. Like these fools had more than a foot thick of concrete. Like, whoa, this thing was serious, right? This is not like your average bear right here. This thing, I'm telling you, this is serious. This is serious. A trapdoor inside the back building led to the vault, which was divided into 3 rooms. That's cool too. That's just like some movie shit, right? Like we got some spy trapdoor that leads to my vault full of weed. Waldy estimated that the underground operation cost more than $1 million to build and equip. Well, shit, that's cheaper than a dispensary. I'm just gonna say that. Damn. Deputies who went up following up to the lead Thursday afternoon found that surveillance camera monitoring the site, no money, weapons, any large quantities or large quantities of harvested marijuana were found. So it looks like it was cleared out. Deputies arrested 2 caretakers at the desert ranch without incident. Both were being held Friday at the Lancaster Sheriff's Station on $5 million bail each and face arraignment Monday for felony drug cultivation charges. $5 million bail. They give these dudes this is 2024. This grow was in California. Granted, it was underground and super out of the ordinary, but it's still a just grow of weed. And these guys the caretakers got $5 million bail. We don't give murderers $5 million bails. That is crazy to me. Anyway, they were identified as, we won't go into their names, whatever. It's 3 guys. Another man described, if you want to find the names, you can read the article. Another man described by the investigators as a top figure in both the Lancaster and Arizona operations surrendered Thursday at the Lancaster Sheriff's Station and faces federal charges in Arizona and conspiracy to distribute marijuana. And then it goes into some of the businesses and the names of the people that the DEA hasn't uncovered. And the DEA spokesman said that the underground location, they had about 10,000 plants and that there was about 5,000 others. And it says sheriff deputies said the house apparently built without proper permits. You didn't permit your underground bunker? Come on. Probably would be demolished, deputies said, or turned into an underground black ops site. Just throwing that out there. Deputies said that the 10-acre site, purchased by the younger Yeager in 1986 for about $55,000, according to real estate records, could be sold as a drug forfeiture property. Baby, we might still be having their Valentine's Day date. This is Luke Scarmazzo coming to you high at 9 News. Kicking it back to my fellow correspondents, man. What do you guys think about, 1, my cool Valentine's Day, and 2, the underground bunker that has 7,000 square feet of cannabis growing?
Well, hold on. This is the truest.
Sounds like Pineapple Express.
This is the truest definition, Luke, of an underground trap.
It is an underground operation.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Man.
They went
I wanted flour, but this is over the top.
Well, and technically, Manndie, if he took you there, he'd bring you to a flour making factory. See what I'm saying?
I'm just like, it's 2024, right? Like, I remember people talking about burying storage containers and doing like your grows underground and stuff like that.
It keeps it a lot cooler.
Like the threat on that, right?
It keeps it a lot cooler. It keeps it a lot cooler too in the sun.
Right. I get it. But I feel like the investment to do the underground bunker, like just do a greenhouse, and like if you get caught, then I guess you just get a fine and not a $5 million bail and end up in the joint. Like what?
I just can't believe you said they get caught because of an $800 power bill. Am I correct on this?
Right, that's some bullshit. Yeah, that's
what the article said. I don't believe that.
Well, hold on. I do.
In my
know
opinion,
this.
in my experience, I would think the situation that happened in Arizona had some people that started singing C minor, and they were able to find Lancaster.
Yep, that's
they still on that. They still on Twitter.
And they probably knew. That's why they cleared everything out. They had their people get popped in Arizona, and they were like, "Oh, somebody got out real quick or whatever." They figured it out, so they cleared out that other one.
Mm-hmm.
And the $5 million bail to me is they're using those three guys that they arrested as bait to try and lure whoever has all the money out of the shadows somewhere to try and come in and get his people out.
Luke, and you also said that they were searching a nearby property, like.
Yeah, it was vague, right? It said that they were tipped off about the $800 bill, and then but it also said that they were also tipped off by searching a nearby property. What they said was that, what the article didn't say was that they raided this house, and when they hit the house, they found that trap door, and when they found the trap door, they found the bunker.
In my mind, I'm picturing like an epic scene like the end of Pineapple Express, where there's just like a massive showdown and standoff, and then it all just gets blown up at the end. But
if these guys,
see what happens.
If these guys were outdoor growers, they could have called that place Bunker Hill. Just saying. Just saying, guys. Just saying. Mm-hmm. Man, I will say this though too, just before we close out, I do know LADWP as a policy, and I'm sure that there's other power agencies around the company that have adopted similar policies. I can't state that for a fact, but I do know that LADWP is this way, is that if they think that you are a marijuana grow, they'll keep you on like this list, right? And if you are ever late on a bill, then you go onto this list, and that list is what gets shared with law enforcement. So don't be late on your power bill, you guys. Just saying.
Pay your bills, man.
Yeah. Pay your power bill.
Pay all your bills.
Yeah.
Especially your people.
Pay your bills on time.
Mm-hmm. You ready, Rico? It's Valentine's Day. You have a lovely outro.
It is Valentine's Day. It could be Valentine's Day if you're alone. It could be Galentine's Day. Do what you want.
Galentine's Day was yesterday, Rico. That was Tuesday. That was Talk About It Tuesday. It was Galentine's Day.
Feed the capitalist beast.
Yes.
Keep on giving it into Hallmark.
Yeah.
They are giving all of us.
I'm hungry.
But thank you all for joining us for another episode of High at 9 News, a very special Valentine's Day edition. Catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Our live audience and online supporters catch us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table as well. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all of our sponsors keeping the lights on, our AV struggles to a minimum. And is Adam back? Is he brushing his hair?
Adam is here today. Adam is in the building. Yes.
Yeah, looking like a Barry Gibbs stunt double back there.
How dare you?
It has been Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke it too, at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News, cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And today we're going to give it to the first lady of High 9 News, Marijuana Manndie. What you got for us? You going to take us home?
You're on mute, Manndie. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. She's on mute. She is on mute.
Look so passionate, but you're muted.
You're on mute. Dang it.
There you go. Now,
That's Spread love. Here we go. Make it a good day, everybody.